Before I get to the shipping container, I just want to do a quick update on the wheels for my chipper shredder. It is the Caravaggi Bio 100 chipper shredder, and it is connected to a Grillo 110 bolt behind tractor. So I took off the wheels that came with it. They were very thin, would not work off any kind of hard surfaces, and replaced them with some 10-inch pneumatic tires from Tractor Supply, and just had a new plate and pin built by a local welder. He only charged me $40 for it, and I think it will be a lot more capable off-road. Get up here close where you can hear me over the sound of the backhoe. Well, I finally got my shipping container delivered out here. It's not exactly where I want it. I got to nudge it around a little bit. So I'm trying the backhoe to see if I can walk it where I want it. Basically, I'm trying to get it as far this way on the pad as I can, and as far that way, which is north, as possible, without it being on an edge where erosion and settling might make it go start slipping. I don't expect it to be perfectly level right to start off with, so I'll have to let it settle a little while and probably do some fixing a little bit later on. But once I'm sure it's perfectly as level and as stable as possible, then I may build some little decks and stuff like that on it. I've got 2 railroad ties that I'll be setting it on, so that'll be kind of the foundation, at least to start with. If it continues to settle too much, I may put a couple more railroad ties under the middle. Now the ends are a little bit lower. You can look up online how the bottoms of them are connected. They're designed to set on the ends and on the corners to stack there. There is a bit of an I-beam that goes down the outside rail. It's fairly strong, but that's not really what it's designed to hold it up. But if I need to, if it starts sinking too much, I can always put some blocks or more railroad ties or something under that I-beam to give it a little bit bigger footprint, spread the weight out a little bit more. I'm going to have it oriented longwise, basically north and south. That's just so that I can open the doors. There's doors at both ends, so I can open the doors and get in and out a little bit better. In an ideal world, I would turn it broadside to the south, because then I could put a single sloping roof on it, sloping to the south at about 30 degrees, and just fill it with solar panels. Unfortunately, we've also got a whole bunch of trees right here, so I would have, even if I filled it, I'm not going to get a whole lot of solar gain until some of these trees come down. In the winter, I'll get more because they're deciduous. But with it on the end, I should be able to get at least 3 panels on the end, and that with 1 or 2 lithium-ion batteries and not using it very often should give me a decent amount of power down here for DC loads, and even to put one of my inverters down here and have a little bit of AC without connecting to the grid. But for the moment, what I'm going to be trying to do is I'm going to move those railroad ties out of the way, see if I can move the end of that over, get it oriented where I want it, as far back as I can and it being safe, and then I'll pick up one end at a time and put the railroad ties back underneath it and see where I'm at. If I get that much done today, I'm going to be very happy. And once again, getting a very, very late start, but that's because of family stuff. Okay, I think I've got it close. I would like to be able to back it up a little bit more, but I don't think I'm going to be able to right now because I can't really get on the other side of it to pull it. I don't want to push it because I don't want to damage the doors or any of the mechanisms. I think it may be far enough away. Okay, if you can hear me over the backhoe, I just want to give you a quick look at how I'm rigging this up. I don't endorse this, and probably making some professional riggers really cringe with this. We got a fairly heavy logging chain there. It should be more than enough for this. It's at least the size of that the wrecker company used when they were pulling it up onto the rollback. These little holes, those corners are actually where the structural strength is. These are designed to be stacked. Okay, they're not designed to be buried or anything of that nature. And pretty much the entire weight goes on those four corners, and those holes are where pins go to lock them either onto each other when they're going ocean going, or maybe stacking too high on the railroad when they're going down the railroad, or when they go onto the carriage, the trailer that they go on for a truck. There are pins that go into those things and locking mechanisms. So all the structural connectedness and strength, they are designed to be on the four corners. That is really the only place that the primary structural strength for stacking and all that is. That being said, if you'll look, there is an I-beam that goes the length of it, and that is there mainly just to keep the structure, the floor straight, going from end to end. So that takes the load and brings it to the corners, which is where the strength is stacking. And then I'll give you a look underneath at some of the beams that go from side to side. And that looks basically like your normal trailer or something like that. If you wanted to use this and really insulate it well, then you need to get this thing up in the air, and then you need to be able to insulate underneath there and some kind of moisture barrier underneath, and maybe rodent. So I might actually do that at some point. If I really want to insulate it well, I'll be able to pick it up like this and possibly get underneath it and put some insulation in there, spray on, or whatever it takes. But for right now, insulation will be a whole different project and stuff. Now on the backhoe itself, I've just got it looped over the top, and I'm not using one of these hooks that were welded on. I'm just using it to keep the chain from sliding off. And also notice that as I move this, because there is an angle, anytime I'm moving this or turning it or whatever, what's going to happen is this thing's going to slide towards it because it wants to go down, pendulum motion. So I can't move it very far without it coming in and impinging on my tire. So I can just move it a little bit. This is far from an ideal situation, but it's what I have in hand, and I am honest enough to say this is more than a lot of people do. I don't know how many people have a Case 580 class backhoe, industrial backhoe, at their available to them, but this is what I've got, and it seems to be working. I'm not going to get it perfectly north and south, simply because when I made this, you can see it's already trying to slip a little bit. So I'm not going to put it all the way on the edge and risk it trying to start coming down, but I think it'll be close enough, and I should be able to line 2 to 3 solar panels up there and be able to get some power at least. We'll see how things go. Okay, so there we have it. It is more or less in place, maybe not the perfect place. Hopefully I've got it pretty close, north and south going this way. Should have room for maybe 3 panels up on the top, and then whenever I do some kind of a roof, and I'm thinking about putting up some kind of a roof up there, sloping just enough for the 3 panels back here at 30 degrees, and the rest of it sloping to one side or the other, single slope for rainwater catchment and stuff. I do have it sitting on the railroad ties. I have not checked it for level. I'm not going to worry too much about that until it's had some time to settle. Because if I go doing a lot of tweaking right now and trying to get it level, and then we turn around and need to redo it because it settles, then I'll just be doubling my work. So let's give it some time to settle, and then we'll see what, if anything, I need to do, leveling it front to back or side to side. But at least at this point I can start bringing some stuff and maybe fitting it out. The insulation for it, like I said, up top, I'll probably put like a 2x4, 2x6, maybe a 2x6 top on it, about 6 inches insulation, and then whatever roofing material I do on the sides, I'm thinking I may put some 2x4s, some 2x2s, put it that way, either 2x2s or 2x4s, so that it's 4 inches deep. Just gluing it to the outside and then insulating from the outside. That way, if the metal's not hot to start with, then any insulation I do on the inside, if I decide to do some, will just be more effective. But it doesn't make a lot of sense to let the whole metal outside get hot and then try to stop it on the inside. So, plus you just lose room. If you put 2 inches of insulation on either wall, you've already lost 4 inches inside, and it's not that big to start with. And neighbors are over here. It ain't Compton, it's out in the hills. And then with it up on those railroad ties, you got plenty of room for airspace underneath. I can always skirt that. That'd probably be as good as anything right now. I don't think I'll be insulating underneath. I'll probably just put some skirting right there. And when I'm sure it's not going to settle anymore and it's level, then I'll consider putting a deck. But that was the job for the day.